Hey, hello, and welcome back from the weekend. Congratulations, Kate, on being first. Holy shit. Hello, Hack. It was just enough time for me to forget the whole Marcel thing, and then I saw it, and I was like, right. completely. I completely forgotten. Hello, Final Smile as well, and Cleos is awake. What the fuck? Welcome. Long time no see. You'll never live down being Marcel. What do you mean? It's your channel name. What do you mean? You see it all the time. It's always been there. And Gilmer, hello! Finally catch a stream live. Why the long break? I had a summer vacation like a normal person. And what the fuck? Agron is here. The hell? How late did I actually start? I started a little bit late at 8, but it's not that late. Gilmer, I started the vacation a little bit sick, and then I went to Sweden, and then I had the vacation actually. So I've been streaming. We've been back for what, 2 weeks already? Is this the 3rd week now? I feel like it is. All right, the Japan times. Yeah, Gilmer, no problem. But we're back now. Summer's over. Very drunk but awake. Hello. Yes, I did, Gilbert. I got this shiny. Oh my god. Berserker. Berserker is mine. Misery has joined us. I'm so happy. So happy. Speaking of animals, I also went to Berlin Zoo Saturday. I took a lot of pictures, and that's why I haven't uploaded any on like Instagram because there's too many. So I'm like, which one should I choose? I'm having fucking anxiety about getting the right pictures, so I'm putting it off. But I'm like, I will do it. I will post some animals that I saw. They were very cute. You finally got China. How long did it take? Almost 2 years. I started. Um, it was September 25, the 25th of September, 2 years ago. And it's September now, so it almost took 2 complete years for me to get that bitch, but I did it. That's why I even made a a clip of it, because I was like, this is an achievement. There's no way it was that long, right? It is. I can. I have proof. The first VOD is on YouTube still. It's still up. When I first encountered my first ever berserker. And yeah, last week it was mine. I will say fast, I might need to just dip very quickly because I have a package arriving that I completely forgotten about. It's arriving at today or tomorrow. I hate that it's not more specific or it tells me. But yeah, I might just have to be like, oh, and then run away. Hopefully I don't have to. It was longer than I've been here. It's longer than many people have been here. They're like, what? There are other routes? I thought this was the game. Fucking Nightbot, shut the fuck up. I'm low-key OG, right? Because it's been more than 3 years. Oh, we've been streaming for a long time now. Like, for me, to say that it's like Berserker took 2 years, I was like, then I've been streaming for more than 2 years. We've had many more Pokemons before Berserker. Like, I'm halfway through the fucking game. It's insane. Of course I do. I remember all of them. The Shinshu that turned out to not be a Shinshu. No one was shocked because it was trash. Yeah, that's why I thought it couldn't have been that long, but it has. It has. It has. It actually has. It's funny and very depressing. I hated Shinshu. Ugh. Oh, it was so annoying. And the fucking bear skewed us, and it was like, oh. Yeah, but it wasn't fucking. Oosh. Oosh. Oh, I'm new gen. Oh, new gen. Now there will be the arc. This is an arc. Like, if you were here before or after Berserker. I have been measuring how long I've been here based on my points. I'm about to have enough points to get VIP again. Hell yeah, dude. Imagine if you could have double VIP. Wouldn't that be crazy? Oh, and we're reading A Soldier's Life. And speaking of A Soldier's Life, I got an email from the big man himself, always rolls a one, and he asked me if I needed the third book yet. And I was like, I see that as we're probably gonna have permission to read book 3, which is very sweet. I was like, I'm getting there. I'm on chapter 80. I would love the third book. So we'll see. I remember when we raced to get VIP when you introduced that. Yes. I remember that too. A prestige VIP. If I had the power of Twitch, then I could. Is there a watch time command? Well, like the follow thingy. Yes. So you can see how long you've followed. Omega based. Well, it doesn't matter if you're in Denmark or if you're in Japan. It's still school whenever I stream. Isn't that crazy? Not VIP Sag. Well, many aren't. It's a very limited thing. I think I was strictly VOD viewer for like 6 months. Oof, that's crazy because I wouldn't have known. That's insane. I have commented and provided a supportive cursive system on all my someone's latest chapters. Oi, crazy. Big baller. I assume I always end stream right before it ends. Yeah. But today I took some sleepy time, so I'm quote unquote late today. But maybe we'll have time to do some shiny hunting. I was also told by Masiek in the Discord server about a game that I was like, ooh, I was really interested. It's called Valhalla, but with ones instead of L's. It's some type of cyberpunk-ish visual novel type of game. You're like a bartender. It looked really cool. I was like, I want this. I want to play this. It has nothing to do with Vikings, from what I've seen. Even though it's called Valhalla. Well, it's called Vay 11. HA11. Oh. I just told you it's a cyberpunk like bartender game. It looked very nice, and I was like, oh, I should get it and we should play it. But I wanted to look into it a little bit more before I just straight up buy it and play it. So maybe today we'll do. I almost was like before streams, like maybe I should just buy it now and then I can do it. If you ever need suggestions in his Patreon for side characters, I'm going to ask him to make a Marcel character named after you. No! I would die if there would be a Marcel character. Oh, no. What a stupid meme. Do it now. That would be so funny. Oh my god. Maybe we should just go into the recap very soon now, yes? Yes, let's do something. let's move on. Mysterious woman named Marcel approaches me in a bright orange cloak. Make Marcel read about Marcel. No. I think I have a friend who has that bartender game. Oh, sick. And soon, probably, I will as well. Very good suggestion. I like it. If you have more game suggestions, please go to the Discord. Join the Discord. Oh my god. Okay, let's take up and yawns. Go. Whew. VOD frog time. Have a good night, Cleos. It sounds like you will have sweet dreams and a long night's sleep. Thank you for coming by. Okay, but then we will go into the recap so we can start our chapters and hopefully not be interrupted by Amazon. Let's go. Last time on A Soldier's Life, Eric and the company are walking towards Veronica to help her set up her borders. On the way there, Delmar shows us his magic sword and Konstantin gets touched by a wraith. They arrive and have dinner while Eric listens to Veronica and Castile talk. I think it ended with Veronica buying us, but even though she's broke, but we will see. I guess I don't know. I don't remember. Then Eric gets assigned a maid and dumps an elf body in the bathroom before going to sleep. Oh, 2 years? Good job. Medical reasons. Then it's important. Keep it up. I have my water. I am doing good. Are we on the wrong screen on stream? Huh? No, we are not. I'm moving. Bro got off screen. Sounds right, like? That's what happened. Definitely. Everything is good. Everything is as it should. Chapter 81. Willpower. He looks like he's having a good dream. A familiar voice broke my light sleep. I was till you came into my room without knocking, I grumbled and opened my eyes to see Konstantin standing over my bed, his young servant at his side. He tossed some clothes at me, and they landed heavily on my stomach. Wait, did he bring his maid? Wait. What? But this is Eric's room. Why Konstantin is like, I'm gonna go over to Eric's room. You have to accompany me. Like, what? Like, okay. The door is Tay's wood. You would not have heard me knocking. Put those on. We will go and explore in commoner garb. Your fancy clothes will bring too much attention to us, Konstantin advised. He addressed his servant, who had a pained look I knew all too well. You can go. I will return to my room in a few hours. Then why was he here? This is so weird. Like he's flexing on us, but he's like, bro, I also have one if you want to be like that. Everyone got one. I didn't have any other clothes. Is that why you had me take the room with the Tay's wood door, so you could enter without knocking? I said while rolling out of bed with the bundle of clothes in my hands. Konstantin just smirked. Asshole. Love him. While you have been napping, Eric, I have walked the citadel. It is one of the oldest I have ever seen. Dozens of additions over the centuries. It was probably a capital of some relic empire before the First Legion. Konstantin sounded a little excited. He then looked me seriously in the eye. You should always familiarize yourself with your environment before you rest. What if the place burned down? Where should you go? Oh no, he's one of these. A fire escape plan. But isn't this entire building stone? Seems unlikely, I commented while changing. The first emperor was killed when an entire wing of the palace was turned into molten rock by a massive ritual, Eric, Konstantin said, while walking through my room, doing an inspection. He even ducked into the large fireplace, expecting there might be something hidden up there. When he came out, he had a black soot mark on his cheek and forehead. I just hoped he did not use the mirror and walked around with it. He went to the massive window and looked out at the garden. The sun was setting, and I realized we might be caught in the woods tonight. What are we looking for in our trip around the area? Is this like the time you made me walk around the city of Matcha? I asked, pulling on my boots. Exactly. Yay. He had seen his reflection in the window and was rubbing the soot out. So much for embarrassing him. As a scout for the company, our job is to know the best ways to retreat from danger. This place, he spun, indicating the citadel, is a trophy castle. It looks beautiful, but, he tapped the glass behind him, is terribly indefensible. I would bet a large gold that each addition to this palace added a few secret passages. So that was what Konstantin had been looking for in the fireplace. A secret passage. Konstantin walked to the door, and I followed him. We took a narrow stair at the end of the hallway. A servant's stair brought us to a storage room outside the kitchen. Some cooks looked mildly interested as we passed through their work area. Konstantin grabbed a loaf of bread, and I did likewise, as it was warm. You wouldn't have otherwise? That's bullshit. You would have. When we were out of sight, my bread went to my storage for a later snack. We exited into a courtyard, and Konstantin moved quickly to the wall. Far across this back courtyard were the stables. Horses mixed with milk cows and, I think, a few goats. I did not have time to determine if the Duchess maintained any heavy horses for cavalry. With only 200 soldiers under her command, it seemed unlikely. At the wall was a passage guarded by 2 men in the Duchess's dark green livery. Livery? One was young, a teenager with greasy black hair, and the other was much older, with almost completely white hair and a pot belly. They did not stop us as we exited through the passage they guarded in the wall. On the other side were 2 more of the Duchess's guards, both middle-aged men. One yawned as we passed, and the other looked us up and down before looking out into the city. As we entered the streets, Konstantin asked, "Impressions?" That they're trash. I had been waiting for his question. They do not bathe regularly. Konstantin gave a sour expression at my joke. Fine. The guards on the outer wall were the more competent, or at least looked more competent. At the inner wall was a lazy veteran and a new recruit. No one questioned us or asked about our business. We could be assassins leaving after a mission and getting away freely. Good. I knew you were not a lost cause. What was the dominant hand of the old guard? Konstantin asked. Oh my god. I would fail so hard at this. I searched my memory. He had a spear, and his short sword was on his right hip. Left-handed, his blade was on his right, I said after thinking for 2 steps on the road. Excellent, Konstantin smiled brightly. It looked wrong on his face. But you should have also noted the boy was right-handed, and they should have been on opposite sides of the passage. I wanted to chirp that he had not asked me that question, but I held my tongue and nodded. We moved among the wooden structures. Now we're going to walk through the town and see how well they are patrolling the streets. Crime is rampant in the city, cutting into the Duchess's taxes. We walked the streets and found patrols, taking food from vendors without paying. Okay. Responding slowly to requests for help, and taking long breaks in alleys, sometimes napping. A few guards were even in incomplete uniforms. After nightfall, Konstantin had me follow him outside the city to circle the citadel's walls. I asked, "It would only take 100 trained men to take the city. Why has it not happened?" Konstantin looked behind us. It is on a main road in the center of the empire. There are probably companies of regulars that pass through weekly. Also, if the city was threatened, the emperor would send 12 mage companies and 2,000 regulars through a portal in a nearby city. It would only take half a day for them to arrive. The Duchess, however, is responsible for keeping her city in order and has not been doing her job. Her lack of experienced armsmen is mostly why. The blue moon seemed larger tonight, and I gazed at it, but not long enough that Konstantin could berate me for ruining my night vision. I also thought about it. He's like, I gazed at it, and I was like, don't do it too long. We moved through the woods, and Konstantin stopped constantly to examine plants on the ground. After the 20th time, I asked, "What are we looking for?" Common alchemy ingredients were healing ointments and simple healing potions, Konstantin informed me while kneeling on the ground. "You're an alchemist?" I expressed surprise. "God's mercy, no. I would never have the patience to spend an entire day purifying ingredients, combining them in exact proportions, and then activating them with a touch of ether. However, I do know some basic ingredients, and Delmar asked me to look. When it is light out, I will show them to you and show you how to harvest them. We need to make more use of your dimensional space. Most ingredients need to be fresh to increase efficiency, so you are an asset for that. Konstantin studied some red-brown grass before getting up. So, everything an alchemist needs will be out here. I scanned the graying woods. Maybe for the healing ointment. It only needs a base and 2 etheric binding agents that are common. The simple healing potion requires honey from specific flowers that giant bees harvest. That will have to be imported from the south. Finding a trader should not be difficult. We circled wide into the woods, and Konstantin found numerous well-trodden paths in the blue-lit woods. He did not want to use the glowstones as the moon was bright enough. He guessed the paths were from hunters from the city or woodsmen living in the wilds bringing their game in for sale in the city. I made sure to relieve myself in the woods so Larine would not have to clean the chamber pot. Oh my god. Even with looking down all the time, Konstantin still pointed out numerous animals as we moved. We returned to the city and the citadel well past midnight. The 2 guards outside the passage entry halted us. Oi! Konstantin patiently explained who we were and our purpose outside the gate. One of the inner passageway's guards was summoned and ran to confirm with their captain. At least this seemed more secure. The runner returned and we were allowed in. I could tell Konstantin was not happy the captain did not come to see for himself. At the kitchen entrance, Konstantin turned to a hallway on the first floor and left me without a word. Was this another test? I was heading to my apartment and getting some sleep. He could report our findings on his own. Besides, he had done very little talking after we left the city. The stairs were dark, so I used my glowstone and found the correct door to my room shortly after. I opened the door and found a small fire in the massive fireplace. On the massive bed were all my clothes, cleaned and dry. My armor was neatly placed on the floor, with my pack at the foot of the bed. I kicked off my clothes, stripping to just my trousers, and fell into the bed face down, pulling my griffin pillow to me. The sound of a door click had me roll over. I was expecting it was Konstantin coming to say I did something wrong. It was Larine, coming out of her small room. I pulled the glowstone to see her, and she had on just a long shirt, a nightgown. She said, "Your clothes are clean." She walked forward to point at the arrangement on the bed. Her oversized green dress gone. I could see her more clearly. All right, because he was like, I cannot see her shape. She had her light brown hair down and looked more attractive than I had expected. It was hard to tell someone's age because everyone was so much shorter than I was accustomed to. Larine was barely 5'3". I planned to follow Castile's orders anyway and shook my head, clearing my impure thoughts. Okay, so he has them. I just wanted to make sure. Thank you. I would like to get some sleep, I muttered and rolled over. I was sure if Konstantin was here, he would yell at me for turning my back to a potential assailant. Her soft voice came back. Do you need anything to drink or eat, Eric? She does remember his name. I rolled back over to look at her. She had taken a step forward. I'm fine. Just wake me for breakfast. I waited and she stood there and didn't move. She looked expectantly at me. What is happening? Did Konstantin tell her to do this? Like, I'm scared now. I'm like, please don't. I don't want this to turn into something like that, please. Like, this is not good. Oh. I came up with a dozen excuses to ignore her. The chief being I did not want to anger Castile. Anything else? I asked, ready to reject her. She bit her lower lip. Did you clean the tub? I mean, I know you did, but why? Oh, that. Yeah, I took a bath, so it made sense that I was the one to clean up. I immediately regretted saying that, as I did not want to have to clean up after myself. I added, I'm not used to having a servant. I will make sure to leave my mess behind from now on, so you have something to do. Don't worry, I'll put you to work. Don't worry. Oh, she smiled a little at my remarks. Oh, fuck it. Well, you only did an adequate job anyway. I had to clean it again. Oh, she said, grinning and taking another step toward the bed. Oh no. Oh, her features became clearer, and her nearness roused me. Oh, fuck. I'm uncomfortable. I did not want her. I did not want to show her my body was betraying me. So I said, "Thank you. Sleep well tonight and wake me for breakfast." I rolled away from her and had to wait 5 minutes before I heard her door shut. We're safe. If she had pressed further, I might have caved like a sandcastle to a wave. It seemed inevitable if she was going to be persistent every night, and we were staying here for months. Oh, shit. I needed to focus on something else. I pulled out my amulet and wore it. I needed some sleep, but I think I was close to my spell form. I entered the dreamscape and was immediately greeted by an excited Oscar. Yay! I should come here just for puppy therapy. The chair was still present, and I relaxed with the spell form book and started studying the spell form. About 4 hours later, I felt it lock into place. I rushed out of the dungeon entrance, exiting the dreamscape, to go and try out my new spell form. Ooh, that was close. I wonder, now I'm like, will I actually have to read something like that in this book? Who knows? I have no idea. Imagine. Is she making a move on him? I would assume so. Because so far, he's been like, oh, I look great. Eric is like, oh, I'm the best looking here. And the girls has kind of liked him as well. So I bet she did. Hello, Monkey Egg. My voice died. This was the first chapter. And we will survive many more. It was the first chapter. I also mentioned that I looked up your game that you suggested. Valhalla. I'm very interested, and I was very close to buying it before stream. I was like, maybe I can just play it today. But I was like, no, I will look into it a tiny bit more, and then I just want to make sure that I have. It was barely any space, so that's good. But I just like, I will look, and then maybe we'll get it for tomorrow or Thursday. We'll see. I have to turn on the light now because it got very dark because it's very cloudy and rainy outside. I'm surprised you're so timid. I am not. People think that I am. People have the idea that it's like, oh, like, you're so pure, you know, why do you get like embarrassed whenever you read this type of like romance, like when it was Shadow Slaves? I don't. I'm not. I can do it. It just surprised me, and it's funny. I think it's funny. But it's like, am I actually gonna have to say, you know, like, I do it when others read it? Suspect one. Yeah, exactly, hack. I'm not timid. And I don't know why I feel like I have to defend myself. It's like, who cares? Flabbergasted. Alright. But it's more like, should I actually sit and it's like, okay, do I have to describe a sex scene for you guys? It's like, that's different. That's different. I'm gonna have to read it. Comment over it. It would be funny. I'm like, I know, I have to read it. And who knows what the fuck they're gonna say? Like, I think we'll be fine. I think so as well. I don't have any. I was just like, oh damn, like, you know, like how is the author gonna describe that Eric is now aroused? I was like, I'm gonna have to say these words. Like, I don't expect to be reading his dick was hard. Like, I don't think that he would write that, but who knows? I don't know. Full detail is absolutely necessary. Alright. The inches. You know, everything. If he has any issues, you know. This is gonna turn into one of those TikTok romance novels. I have no idea what those are, but I can imagine. Oh, you mean like Haunting Adelaide and shit. I know what you mean. I still feel the pain of no more Shadow Slave. I haven't recovered from the loss. Hello, Sekro. Well, I'm still reading Shadow Slave off stream, so I'm good. I have moved on. We have to move on. Now we have this. We have this that I really enjoy as well. How far did you get? Off stream, I am on chapter 1670 or maybe 80. Wait, let me check. Maybe I'm in the 80s already. I am on... There. Yeah, 80. Exactly 80. I'm gonna read 80 next time. 1680 is the chapter I'm gonna read next. Honestly, this is much more enjoyable than I expected. Same. And I'm happy about it. I'm really happy about it. The fucking YouTube reactions is getting me. Do the physical reaction to Schilling reading something and then they go into a detailed sex scene straight out of left field is inevitable. You never know. You never know. But yeah. Okay. We got some puppy therapy. Very cute. Okay. Eric survived one night, but as he said, we have months left. Let's see what happens. Is he gonna change servant? Can't wait for Eric X Constantine in the next book, right? What? No, I want Damien. Where's my Damien? Damien is the one. Chapter 82. A Walk in the Woods. My room was still dark and quiet when I opened my eyes, and I brought out my glowstone. I quietly moved into the bathing room and barred the door. Why? A strong lemony scent hung in the room after Larine's cleaning. Was the Empire aware of disinfectants? With magic, they probably knew about bacteria, maybe even viruses. I took out 2 more glowstones for added light. I held out my hand and searched for the new spell form on my other core. It took a moment, and I found it and pushed Ether through it. A low pop sound, like someone clicking their tongue with their mouth closed, rang softly in the room. A disk of blurry blue air appeared in front of me. Oh, his air shield thing! Oh, I was like, what is air? I was like, it should be healing, no? But I'm... Oh, of course. I guess Castile was wrong about it being invisible. The disc was a yard across and a hand width in thickness. That was all the measurements I could take before the disc of compressed air vanished without a sound. Maybe it's invisible to everyone else. You don't know that, Eric? I created the next disc and oriented it parallel to the ground. I counted this time and waited. It was roughly 12 seconds before whatever held the disc together lost cohesion. I tested this twice more and rotated the disc each time as I pushed Ether through the spell form. The time the disc remained was the same each time. I was casting the disc through my hand and could place it in any orientation from my hand with a thought. I could not change the disc shape at all though. I then tried casting 2 discs at once. There were no issues, as it was anchored and independent once the disc was cast. One thing I could not do was dismiss the disc after it was cast. I had to wait for it to expire. In my estimation, each disc was taking a little over a unit of ether to cast, draining my small ether pool, but I needed to figure out the utility of the compressed air barrier. I pulled out a short sword and attacked the disc. Hitting the disc was like striking dense rubber. The sword stopped and rebounded very slightly. It took 3 full force swings to break the disc before the 12 seconds expired. With less enthusiastic swings, it took 5 or even 6 hacks to break the disc. Next, I tried a spear. I took a running start with the spear and tried to pierce it. The disc held, and I was impressed. The tip was stopped abruptly, and it was a little jarring, and I had to heal a sprain to my wrist. 2 rushing attacks using my body weight did manage to break the spell form, as my second attack was only slowed momentarily. All my experiments had drained my ether, so I sat and waited, thinking of other tests I could do. I wonder if there's any fanfics of this series. If it exists, there will be. If there isn't already. My next test was for an arrow. The arrow actually stuck into the air shield, looking like it was suspended in the air. I fired 4 more arrows quickly before the time elapsed, and the 5th broke the disc, and they all clattered to the floor. The disc could take a certain amount of disruption before failing. I waited again for enough ether to cast the disc a foot off the ground. Then I stepped up into it. It held my weight and lasted the entire 12 seconds. This would look amazing if someone did not know I was using magic. After another long wait, I tried to cast the disc from my foot instead of my hand. It was disorienting, like trying to write words upside down, but it worked. I had been worried about wearing boots, but the disc still manifested. I assumed it meant I could wear gloves as well and still create the air shield. This spell form had a lot of utility, and although it was not quite as Castile had advertised, I was quite happy with my choice. I opened the bathroom door to find Larine standing there in her nightgown. Hello, Larine. I was only wearing my trousers and boots. There was an awkward pause that I filled. I was doing my morning training. I had been grunting and making a fair amount of noise in the bathroom. Oh, fuck. And she's like, I'm here. Her eyes narrowed slightly in skepticism, but she nodded and went about her duties, checking the latrine first, which was empty. I still had an aversion to someone cleaning up my shit for me. Breakfast will be in 1 hour, she announced. If you will allow me, I wish to change for the day. Change? Ah, clothes. Dismissed, I said uncertainly, and she nodded and left. I dressed myself as well. I was eager to tell Castile of my success with the spell form. Larine came out in the same bulky dark green dress, hiding her figure. I followed her to the dining room. About half the company was already there, trying to eat as much as possible. I took the same seat I held at dinner last night, and found Larine bringing me a glass and a plate of food. The plate had a portion of oatmeal blended with chunks of dried fruit and nuts. The rest of the plate had something like French toast without any sweetness to it. Just eggs soaked into bread and then baked down, according to Colm, explaining the crunchy bread. My glass was a very weak ale, probably watered down. Larine asked me 3 times if there was anything else I wanted from the kitchen. I like Larine, dude. Persistent. He's like, okay, so maybe now? I asked for bacon, but just got fried ham steaks. Larine, if you ask, you better deliver. Maybe they did not cure and smoke bacon. I did not know the process, but it could not be too difficult. Wow. Right? The girl knows what she wants. You can't offer someone 3 times and they give the wrong thing. That's insane. Larine is cute. Oh, she's like, here. Castile, Del Mar, and Adrian arrived as I was eating my third ham steak. The Duchess was not at breakfast. Castile sat beside me, and I leaned into her. I imprinted the spell form last night. Castile nodded, but did not show the excitement I'd expected or the praise I was hoping for. Eric. I retreated back to my plate and ate the rest of my ham steak. It was not long before the entire company was eating. I'm getting Chainsaw Man vibes. Praise me, please. The Duchess did not show up to breakfast, and Adrian and Delmar had their own private conversation across the table. Castile ate the oatmeal and cut up some apples for her breakfast, ignoring the egg-baked bread. Adrian spoke to Castile. I think we are ready. Castile nodded and Adrian stood. The table went silent as Adrian gave assignments. Well, it appears the Duchess is spoiling you men. Personal servants, anything you want for breakfast, except for bacon. Individual rooms. We cannot have you getting soft. We're going to be here for months. Shears broke Adrian's planned speech, and he waited for it to die down. We have numerous tasks to get completed, including digging and placing 80 miles of markers that weigh as much as 4 men each. What? Everyone went silent. We are also going to be training the province soldiers up to our standards. Some boos rang down, and Adrian grinned. Legionnaires thought themselves superior to the regular army, city guard, and provincial soldiers. Well, especially if you compare to the fucking trash-ass soldiers they have here. Or the guards, or whatever the fuck they are. Adrian waited for everyone to calm down. Delmar, Brutus, Colm, Blaze, and I will be staying in the Citadel to work with the soldiers. Boos echoed in the dining room as our 2 leaders took a job in this castle's comfort. He held up his hand. Just to teach them discipline and how to do their jobs. You will eventually be training them with the spear and, later, the sword, so they do not accidentally stab themselves. We will rotate men to supervise the training. I still struggle to imagine that Castile is tiny compared to Eric. She gives me a completely different vibe. Oh yeah. But I also forget how much older she is. Because someone said a few while ago that she's older than Eric. And I don't know how much older. Like, I don't know how old Castile is. I've actually forgotten how old Eric is as well. But I think he's in his 20s, right? Late 20s, I think. Konstantin and Eric are going to scout the lands around Sobral City for the next 2 weeks. I audibly groaned, and some men chuckled at my misfortune. Konstantin was wearing a grin. Castile and Felix will be working with the Duchess. A surprised Felix spat a little of his beer. Everyone else will start on the markers by the road east of here. 2 men from the Duchess and 1 agent from the Imperial Surveyors will supervise you. Willie commented, Why not just have the plebeians dig the holes? We can guard them while they do it. Castile stood. We could have them do it and finish in a month, or we can do the work ourselves and finish in 5 months. Benito asked, confusion in his voice. So, isn't 1 month better? Idiot, Firth muttered, understanding the implications. We get to make use of the Duchess' hospitality for that much longer. Oh, I didn't get it. Benito's eyes went wide. I don't mind digging a few holes if we get to eat like this at every meal. Everyone laughed, but 1 or 2 of the others had been thinking the same as Benito. That's me! That's me! Not saying anything, but also like, oh, right. Adrian finished. You all will be leaving in an hour. Calm to me. Like a dog. The men shoveled food into their mouths before leaving. Colm was called over and sent out on a mission to find a leather worker to replace the missing pieces of armor among the company men. I sipped my ale and stared down the table at Konstantin, who stared back with a grin. So, Konstantin, he's... what a fucking guy, dude. He's such a character. Not sure I'm imagining Eric as 28, 29. I think he is 28 or 27. And Castile is 35, 36. Not sure how accurate it is. Maybe she's 30. I have no idea. I don't know. She's still awesome. Like she's not it's not like she's old, like 70 or 80. Like they're still close in age. Castile ordered. Tell Konstantin if your new spell form. Tell Konstantin of your new spell form, Eric. Alright, because they knew that they were working together on it. Okay. He will help make it viable in combat. Then she was gone with the perplexed Felix in tow. Konstantin soon stood over me, saying, "Let us go, Eric, and get some campaign gear. Make sure your storage space is empty. I will want to fill it with flora for the future alchemist." She is at least 37, 38, and Eric is 26, 27. What? She's close to 40? And she's gonna go for 10 more years. 50. Man. Castile. That's crazy. I went to my room to pack my backpack with the standard Legion gear. Lorene was standing by, waiting to assist, but I did not have anything for her to do. "Will you be gone long?" she asked as I finished. Oh no. Now it's like, will you ever come back to the castle? At least to see me? As long as Konstantin wants, I guess, I told the young servant. She seemed disappointed as I left and met Konstantin in the courtyard. We circled out to the woodlands and I asked, "Konstantin, is this safe? Just the two of us?" "We will not go more than 5 miles from Sobral. Take the opportunity to learn as much as you can and get comfortable in the woodlands on your own. I will teach you to spot the serious dangers that should be avoided," he said confidently. "And what if we don't avoid them?" I asked skeptically. "We see which of us is the faster runner." He laughed at his joke. That did not make me feel any better about this training, or the fact Konstantin laughed. He never laughed, and I already knew he was a faster runner than me. Then it's even more funny if they know who's the fastest already. That's funny, Konstantin. Good job. We walked for a time before I revealed my secret. Castile told me to let you know I have a new spell form. Perfect! She told me you were working on something. What is it? He asked, looking at me as we walked. I created a barrier directly in front of him and had the satisfaction of him walking into it and falling flat on his ass. I just kept walking, smiling as I heard him scramble quickly to his feet. He spent time inspecting the air shield behind me. I've said it like 3 times in a row already, as fast as Konstantin does something, but he is so cute. I had to slow my steps and wait for him to catch up. I was thinking what horrible things he would do to me, but I decided it had been worth it. Cute. Well, that is useful. Have you tested it? Konstantin asked, intrigued and not angry. I nodded. Well, I'm certain I can come up with some things you have not tried yet. I suddenly got the feeling the testing was not going to be pleasant. If you shove the disc out... The mission was just as Konstantin had said. We were out to gather flora. I was taught how to harvest a number of ingredients. Bloodgrass needed to take out slowly by the root. Bloodgrass was very common. Mandrake was not as easy. It needed to be dug up and was like a hairy carrot. Borage was a bush with red fruiting berries. The berries were the easiest thing we collected all day. The fresher they were, the more potent they would be for an alchemist. Draff was a pink flower and hard to find. Fire leaves was another pink flower that we found. Unfortunately, it was eaten by bugs. Konstantin said it was not used in healing brews, but was extremely valuable in its own, since it was hard to find, and bugs consumed it almost immediately after bloom. One of these small flowering plants was worth almost an entire gold to the right alchemist. Ooh. Me in World of Warcraft. Our auction house, here I come. Konstantin did not know everything either. I would ask him about a plant here and there, and half the time his response was, "Don't know. I suggest you don't touch it or put it in your mouth." His condescending tone was that of an adult warning a child. Yeah, I can. What does this one do? I don't know. And this one? I could tell we were zigzagging as we moved away from Sobol. As we stopped for lunch, I asked, "How long are we going to be out here?" "Until you fill up your space, Eric," Konstantin muttered through chewing on a sugar weed. "Casil wants you ready to impress whatever alchemist the Duchess can find." The Duchess was right. Any decent alchemist is not going to want to come to this backwater city. We spent the rest of the day working on developing my herbalism talent. We were focused on 7 plants that Konstantin knew could be used for making curatives. He also had us collect a few that we knew were rare, but was not certain of their uses. My arms were scratched, and my nails clogged with dirt from the day's work, but the knowledge was rewarding. The box I kept for Legion goods in my storage was already more than half full. It would not take long tomorrow to fill it. Yeah. The night was setting in, and we had ventured far from the worn paths. Konstantin had us stop. "We will not train tonight. There is no one to guard us. We're going to sleep in that tree." He pointed at an old gnarled tree with a massive dark green canopy. I was happy when he pulled out a rope and looped it over a branch 20 feet up. Sleeping in a tree means you cannot run, but if you're alone and in a dangerous country, it is the best way to get sleep on the run. We climbed the tree and secured ourselves with rope at 90 degrees to each other on different branches. For some reason, I'm imagining that Loreen is choosing to sleep in Eric's bed tonight. Konstantin smirked. "This will be the worst night of rest you have ever gotten. Every time an animal passes underneath us, I want you to tap my shoulder and point it out." "How am I supposed to get any sleep?" I asked as night was settling. "You are not." He heaved a brief chuckle. He was chewing on his ration bar and sprinkling some of the myconid powder below to mask our scent. I was a little upset with his training, so I pulled out the loaf of warm bread I had taken from the kitchen yesterday and began eating. Konstantin was immediately aware of the delectable smell, and I chuckled. "You did tell me to empty my dimensional space." I ate the entire loaf slowly and happily. I was certain I would pay for not sharing tomorrow, but it was worth it. Chapter 83. The Sisters. Oh no, does Loreen have a sister? Shit. I was miserable most of the night. My back ached, and my legs kept falling asleep on the thick branch. The rope dug into my ribs whenever I drifted off and lost my balance. The nocturnal animals that passed under us were a constant parade. I pointed them out. A raccoon, a pair of foxes, a giant beetle, and 4 giant weasels. The weasels had Konstantin on edge, and he had us remain still until they were well out of sight. Their long, lanky bodies were 7 to 10 feet long. After being sure they had passed, he said, "Giant weasels are not to be taken lightly. They must have a den around here and are probably the apex hunters in the area. I'm guessing that was 2 parents and 2 young ones. If they caught you alone, they would each grab you and tear your body apart." As if prophetic, a pitiful cry of an elk or deer could be heard in the distance. It was quickly silenced. Imagine fucking weasels taking on a fucking elk. That's crazy. Konstantin listened and waited for a while before continuing in a whisper. "Their coats are extremely valuable to the right buyer, and they generally do not attack humans but are a menace to livestock. Their saliva is also deadly, as it prevents blood from clotting." He finished his lecture, and the rest of the night was quiet. Konstantin assumed the weasel scent trail had scared everything else away. As the sun rose, he waited till mid-morning before descending, just in case the weasels were late getting back to their den. I was surprised the weasels had unnerved Konstantin. He admitted, "If I was in a group, I would not be so cautious, but alone against 4 fast hunters? No, it would not have gone well." He then hedged his own statement. "Now, if it was just 2 of the prowlers, I could have handled that." He put on a crafty smile. We started gathering plants and some mushrooms that had sprouted overnight. He pointed out the purple berry. Winterberry. It's very sweet, and they keep all winter, hence the name. Wow. Clever. If you want some with your breakfast, just make sure you chew them well and spit out the seeds. Is this some bullshit? I picked a few of the berries, which were hard. I squeezed one too hard, and it burst, covering my hand in a brilliant blue. I tried to wipe it off, but it was like ink and stained my hand. Konstantin looked both amused and disappointed. I guess this would have stained my teeth, I noted, both wary and worry of Konstantin. And your lips, he smiled. A little payback for the bread and the introduction of your air barrier. They are nutritious but also make a great dye. Oh, do not look so sour, Eric. The stain fades after a week or so. Or a simple alchemist solvent would work as well. I grunted, showing my displeasure. We continued with our task, but I took careful note of any possible shenanigans from Konstantin. Just before noon, I informed Konstantin. My dimensional space is full. Should we head back? He arched an eyebrow, seemingly surprised, and nodded. As we walked back, he asked me questions about what I had learned about my air shield. After telling him what I had learned on my own, he responded. I admit that it's one of the more impressive spell forms I have heard of, especially for a legionnaire. The fact that it's a spell form means it takes you no time to cast it, unlike a true spell. It will serve as a barrier against most mage ranged spells and infantry weapons, and you can overlap them. If it did not have such a short duration, you would be unstoppable in combat. Show it to me again. We paused in our walking, and I set the shield at eye level. Konstantin felt the air and moved slowly around it, tracing its size. Remarkable. And you can stand on it. I cast another one 2 feet off the ground and hopped up. I jumped up and down like a kid on a bed. There was a very small spring effect. Konstantin asked, How do you know where to stand? The air is blurry blue. Wait, you don't see it? I asked, perplexed. See, Eric, that's what I said. No, I can feel it and get the shape with my hands, but I see nothing. It is not unusual for mages to be able to cast spells that only they can see. Konstantin motioned for me to cast it again. I did, and he quickly felt out its shape and climbed on it. He jumped like I did until it ended, and he landed smoothly on the ground. Well, we can practice with it, but I also suggest you find out how many you can cast when your ether is full. He drew his short sword. I sensed this was not going to be fun. In the end, it was a lesson filled with many suggestions. Konstantin thought the shield was defensive, offensive, and a great way to confuse an opponent's movements, since only I could see it. Tactics like casting one at eye level against rushing opponents, creating tripping hazards low to the ground, and his favorite was creating a box if I circled an opponent and had the ether to spare. We were sweating heavily, and I was out of ether when Konstantin halted the practice. You need a lot more practice, but I think you can join the hounds if you wish. His statement hung in the air. Ooh. Okay. It sounded like a probing question, and I replied after a long pause. I am fine in Castile's company, as long as we are not sent to die in a siege again. Konstantin gave a hoarse laugh. That was a tight one, agreed. He did not mention the hounds again. Now, as we head back to the city, I want you to give me 3 more ways you can use your new air disc outside of combat. I came up with barring a door, keeping the rain off me, and using it as a platform to jump higher. Konstantin considered each. The door is a good idea. I had not thought of that one. The rain shield, not so much, Eric. It only lasts a dozen heartbeats. It is a waste of your small ether pool. The jumping platform is good though. Scaling a wall or descending out a window. Keep thinking and experimenting. The best warriors have solutions before the problems present themselves. Wow, really? We entered the city of Sobral, and Konstantin led us to a herbalist shop. I'm going to leave you here to sell your harvest. I thought we were gathering them for the alchemist the Duchess was hiring, I asked, confused. Oh, you are. Just not this batch. Once you sell them, give the coin to Castile or Adrian for the company coffers. Konstantin said, waving a hand in the air as he walked away. How do I know what a fair price is? I barked at his retreating back. Figure it out, he yelled back, and was gone to do his own business. Fucking... Oh. I entered the shop to find two older women at the back. Oh, is this the sisters? Crushing dry herbs in a mortar and pestle. Pestle? Mortar and pestle. I approached them, and they gave my Legion armor a narrow appraisal with their eyes. What brings you here, Legion boy? The other woman eyed me up and down and suggestively said, Need an ointment for the crotch crickets? The pair were not being malicious. They were just old women talking playfully to the younger generation. I am here to sell my harvest. They had skeptical looks regarding my appearance, either from my age or armor. I moved to an open table and dumped the contents from my space. They were suddenly more interested and began sorting through the pile of fungi and flora, mumbling about magic being wasted on the youth. I wandered the shop as they worked, and there were a number of jars of ointments and tinctures and bags and powders. Are you two young women alchemists? I asked, picking up something labeled red aloe and mint oil. The one on the left chortled. No, boy. We might know as much as an alchemist about herbs, but we both lack any control over our other cores to infuse potions to activate the ingredients. All of our concoctions are non-magical in nature. The other woman added, but sometimes our products are just as good as an alchemist's. They nodded together, and I could see the resemblance. Are you sisters? I asked, trying to be friendly. We are. Layla and my sister Ria, at your service, boy. They nodded in unison. I am Eric, I bowed, fitta, and the old women giggled at my formality. Ria took over the conversation. We are willing to purchase these, she indicated half the table. For 12 silver and 40 copper. These are either too damaged or just not useful to us. She pointed at 2 yellow bundles of flowers and a stack of winterberries. They have value, but we need them not. I did not know if their offer was fair, so I tried to haggle. 20, and you tell me what I did wrong in harvesting the damaged ones. Layla narrowed her eyes, sizing me up. 16, and we will charge you 4 silver for an education. I laughed as she had offered me less. I guess you're not interested. I moved to gather up my harvest. Ria took hold of my wrist softly to stop me. 16 silver, and we will take an hour to talk with you and answer your questions. Oh. The next 2 hours were extremely informative, as the 2 older women liked to talk and flirt with me. Sisters, Eric. I learned about all the flora and fungi I had harvested, their uses, and their preparation for preservation. They explained what I did wrong in my harvesting, and I now had some ammunition to correct Konstantin. I moved the valuable yellow flowers and berries into my space. I had a list of what the older women would want in the local woods, and what they thought an alchemist would want as well. They had been extremely helpful, and I think they enjoyed talking with me. I left the herbalist with 16 small silver coins. It was not a bad haul for 2 days' work. It was 3 times what a normal legionnaire would make in a week. I made my way happily back to the citadel to find Castile. Castile was in the dining room with the Duchess and Felix. Felix was taking notes, and I walked behind him. He had incredible penmanship and was drafting letters for the 2 women. Castile looked up, waiting. I made the company 16 silver harvesting in the woods. I proudly placed the coins on the table. She looked up at me and then at the coins. You can give the coin to Delmar. Did your training with Konstantin go well? I made significant progress, I replied, relaxing as it appeared I was seeking her approval and praise for my efforts and would not get it. Aww. Aww. No. Aww. Eric. Aww. Good. We're sending out letters to alchemists registered with the Empire. Continue to practice your gathering skills. When we get a bite, I will likely send you and Adrian to convince them to relocate to Sobral. Castile explained her plan. So that was what Felix was writing. I swept up the small amount of coin and retreated to my room. I had just stripped off my armor when Delmar knocked. He entered, said I had done good work, took the 16 silver and left. I turned on the tap water to find it was cold. I knocked on Lorene's door, but she did not answer. What the fuck? Lorene? I filled the tub with cold water and took a cold bath. Once clean, I fell asleep on the bed in my trousers. Konstantin had kept me up all last night, and sleep came easy. Ugh. Poor guy just wants to be told he's doing good. Right? Who doesn't? Oh, relate. So cute. Oh. The moment Castile calls him a good boy, Eric will melt immediately. Ah, dude, I bet. I know I would. My god. So cute. Poor Eric. Chapter 84. Castile's immodesty. Okay. Okay. Interesting. My dream started pleasant enough, but did not end that way. I was riding a giant weasel into battle to kill Konstantin. The soft fur and rhythmic ripples of its body beneath me as it ran across the field were powerful, invigorating, and mesmerizing. As we ran through the woods, I saw Konstantin hanging from a tree, tangled in rope, and trying to extract himself. I laughed at him as I raced past. After seeing Konstantin, things quickly went downhill. I soon found myself fighting a dozen elven archers beneath the aqueduct in Matcha. My weasel mount was mewing. Is it meowing? It's not mewing. You know, with the fucking... It's trying to get its... what is it called? Its cheekbones right? Or the yaw. Imagine the weasel fucking mewing. That would be so funny. Oh, that's great. The cleanest of jawlines, alright? The shad weasel. Looks maxing weasel. Okay, my bad. My weasel mount was meowing and squeaked in pain as a dozen arrows incapacitated it. I desperately tried erecting an air shield to hold off their assault, cursing as I had not practiced enough and kept placing it in the wrong spot. The archers kept yelling in their language that they wanted their comrade back. Not the elf rider, but the woodsman scout still in my dimensional closet. Then Konstantin was on the aqueduct above me, not to help me, but to give me directions on how I should be fighting when outnumbered. I tried to run while swearing at Konstantin and took an arrow to the back. I woke up in a sweat. Oh my god. This is too great. Lorene was standing over me at my bedside in her nightshirt. Oh. I jerked back in surprise. Eric, are you well? Should I get a healer? She been trying to wake me. Has she? She has been trying to wake me, and he... Hand on my back matched where the arrow had penetrated in the bad nightmare. She had been trying to wake me, and she had been trying to wake me, and her hand on my back matched where the arrow had penetrated in the nightmare. There we go. I cleared my head and wiped the sweat from my face on the sheets. I am fine. I regained myself quickly. Not liking that I had been found so vulnerable. Wow, that's the issue. The concern on her face was welcome, and I suddenly longed to be able to talk with my parents about my problems. Even Eric! Oh my god! Oh no! Oh, that's so cute. Oh, I want to talk to my parents. Eric, what? Oh, he's such a softie. He's adorable. I brushed it off and stood on the bed's other side, away from Lorene. When is breakfast? I love that he's like, no, I was found vulnerable. I am strong. I am big and strong. But also tell me that I'm a good boy and I want to talk to my parents about my issues. Adorable. She scrunched her face in slight annoyance at being brushed off. Sunrise is not for 3 hours. Do you wish for me to bring you something from the kitchens? Oh, please. Can you have them make me an omelette with sharp cheese, diced sausage, and green onion? I asked, yearning for some comfort food. Growing up, we had chickens, and my mother made the best omelettes. Oh, it's a very bad nightmare. What is an omelette? She asked, confused. It is something from my homeland, I replied, and then told her how it was made. I dressed and locked myself in the bathroom. I then practiced my sword forms, incorporating my air shields until I ran out of ether. I exited the bathroom expecting to find Lorene with my breakfast, but she had yet to return from the kitchens. I started doing some static stretches to relax. I had dated a yoga fanatic and health nut for a short time, and to placate her, I had joined her in the mornings. Wow, okay. Back then, I was going through the motions to ensure she would stay the night, but now it was relaxing. Maybe it was more relaxing because she was not here, constantly correcting me. Okay, Eric. I can see some. Oh, okay. I can 100%, 100% imagine him accidentally calling Castile mom. I bet he would. I was fitter now, and stretching my aching muscles felt good rather than healing them with ether. Lorene entered with a plate and pitcher while I was in the cobra pose. He knows the pose name! She looked at me strangely, then explained her lateness. I'm sorry, they burned their first attempt, and I made them cook it again. She looked around the room. Do you want me to bring a table and share into your room? Will you be taking meals here often? I looked around at the Spartan room. Yes, 2 chairs and a small table. I will take some meals here, and when I do, I would like you to join me. It's a date. She smirked a smile briefly and then hid it, nodding happily. I sat on the bed and ate my overcooked omelette. Next time, tell the cooks to add a splash of cream and whip the eggs together. They cooked this too long, and it is too dry and crunchy. Lorene looked a little upset and blurted, The first one was burnt. I told them to cook it again. Dude, Eric, for someone who wants to be called a good boy so much, you can at least tell her that she did all right. I held up my fork. It is fine. I have had worse. Bro, I think Eric is a German. He must be a German. He's like, this is edible. He didn't even... Dude. He is 100%. See, yeah, he has to be. Decided he's German. I continued eating while she just stood there. She filled a glass from the pitcher and handed it to me, taking the empty plate. The pitcher had a very weak wine, which I guess could be called grape juice. I started dressing, and Lorene rushed into her room to change into her dress. I was done well before her, and was already walking down the hallway. Maybe I could wake Konstantin like he'd like to wake me. Dude, I will say, acceptable nutrition woman. That is German as fuck. It's a bit above passable. Yeah, look, to like to hear from a German, this is edible. That's like a compliment from them. I see it almost as an insult. They're like, this is edible. Yeah, it was okay, right? I knew a few people that you could feed the most luxurious meal, Germans, and they'll say it was okay. Yeah, I'm like, I don't understand. I will. It is so. It takes some time to get used to. And it's like they mean it though. They just don't say it and they don't show it either, but somehow they liked it. How am I supposed to know? Anyway. I paused at 2 doors across from each other and realized I did not know which was his. Both doors were blue tastewood, so I could not hear anything on the other side. I guessed he would have chosen the room facing the gardens and tried the door handle. It figures that it was locked. Loreen was fixing her hair back as she caught me in the corridor. Is this Konstantin's room? She nodded, finishing her hair. Do you have the key? No, only the Citadel steward and Marie, the servant assigned to him, do. She said regretfully, since she was not able to help. What about Castile's room? Can you show me where it is? I asked. Do you have the key? It is in the Duchess's wing of the Citadel. I can show you. She smiled at being able to help. I followed her down some stairs and into another wing. The hallway had more furnishings, but it was still fairly sparse. She stopped and indicated the door, and I was about to knock when the door swung open. A middle-aged man-servant with messy black hair was standing there. Oh, Castile! I was not sure who was more shocked, me or him. When he opened the door, the distinct smell of sex hit me as a warm air rushed out of the room. Castile! Oh my God! No way! Stay away from them, she says. And look at her. What? I am shocked. Castile. Castile was on the bed inside the room, her lower body under covers, but naked from the waist up. A modest fire was burning in her fireplace. There was dead silence as no one moved or spoke. Then Castile, who made no effort to cover her chest, said, "Breakfast, Alder?" The servant ran off to the kitchen at the reminder. Wow. Holy. Castile stood, still naked, and I was too shocked to do anything but stare. Nudity was not a taboo in the Italian Empire, but it felt wrong. I averted my eyes as soon as she started dressing. Yes, Eric, you were here quite early. Sunrise is not for another hour. Her tone held a tinge of mirth at my embarrassment. I think she was showing off her body intentionally. Her body had been lean, but not athletic looking. Okay. Sorry, I wasn't sure that what I should do today. It sounded lame to visit her before dawn to get orders, so I added, and thought we could start working on another spell form for me. Castile stopped dressing, still was somewhat exposed, and she was hiding a smile at my shyness. Loreen stirred behind me, and I suddenly felt like a child. I looked up and met Castile's eyes. I just focused on her eyes, nothing else. After a pause and a small smirk, Castile pulled over a blue shirt to cover herself completely. Not something to be discussed in present company. Leave us, she said firmly to Loreen. Loreen scurried away, shutting the door behind her. I was sure the Duchess was going to know I was learning a new spell form before too long and kicked myself for mentioning it. Yeah, that was stupid. Spell forms were not uncommon, and Castile was smart not to let the servants know what I was specifically working on. I moved to sit by a large window. The view had the gardens below, and at least Castile had curtains in her room that could be drawn for privacy. A table, covered in stacks of papers, were here. Castile sat across from me and moved the papers. We're trying to develop revenue streams for the Duchess. Her province does not have much. The only thing we came up with was opening the trade road. She frowned at the idea of our company clearing the direwolves and the other dangers. It would add Sobral as a merchant stop, but still not turn the tide of our financial destitution. Destitution? No. I sat there quietly, still uneasy about seeing her naked. Castile seemed content to ignore my intrusion and seeing her naked moved the conversation forward. Eric, how has your training with your new spell form come? I eagerly created a disc above the table to change the focus and put a stack of papers on it. Castile felt the edges out, and the disc popped before the 12 seconds. My mouth hung open in surprise. Castile smirked. Counterspell, remember? I just disrupted the etheric weave, holding the air together. This is a good spell form. Can it support your weight? I nodded confidently. Yes, I can stand on it, and I have been practicing using it in combat with Konstantin's help. Good. Find out how much weight it can support. It should be around 500 pounds, but it depends on the strength of your protection affinity. Are you ready for a time spell form? Castile asked seriously. Yes. What are my options? I asked, relaxing in my chair. Oh, now he's relaxed. Castile smirked and stood with purpose. She went and retrieved a tome from a chest that was locked. She walked the book to me and said, there are 3 standard volumes for each spell form for each affinity at the Italian Mage College. The Duchess has a remarkable library, and all 3 time affinity books are bound into this one rare tome. She is unaware I am borrowing this one, so keep it hidden in your space when not studying. Thank you. I pulled the book closer and opened it to an index. My Latin was much improved, and I quickly read off the spell forms. Time affinity lesser spell forms. Haste and Mind. Oh. Seize momentum. Echo in time. Compress sleep. Time affinity major spell forms. Haste and Self. Slow aging. Age target. Probable future. Oh, a seer. Eric, that's fun. You can become a seer. Open a little booth. Time affinity apex spell forms. Slow domain. Oh. Flashback. Ageless. And stasis. Oh, freeze time or some shit? Damn. These all sound very interesting. Castile explained. There are more time spell forms out there, but these were the most utilized 100 years ago when the book was copied. Time is a very rare affinity to have, and you are lucky this compendium was in the library. The lesser spell forms are for affinities between 10 and 25. The major are for 25 to 40, and the apex forms are from 40 to 70. She did not ask which range I fell into. Based on my protection spell form, she was smart enough to deduce that I could at least add a major spell form for the time affinity. There might be something stronger out there for my 90 affinity in time, but I could not access it with this reference book. I paged through for a few moments, and Castile announced, learn this on your own and do not share it with anyone. You should store it before Alder returns with my breakfast. Return it to me or the library if you can, when no one is watching. I nodded in understanding, closed the book, and moved it to my dimensional space. There was a brief silence before I said, thank you for preparing me for life after the Legion. Castile gave a curt nod, but I sensed maybe something else there as well. Maybe she was planning on fleeing the Empire, and I would be her escort. She was definitely preparing me for something. I turned the conversation away from the topic of the Empire. What does Konstantin suspect of me? Castile laughed almost musically. A young man with too much potential to waste it. He talks about you like you're his own son. Oh! He believes you are from some backwater village on the edge of the Duchy of Tsingia, and awed at city life. You are lucky he knows very little of the Duchy. He used to teach the history of the Italian Empire. Did you know that? I'm not surprised. No, he never told me, I said, interested in learning more about the man. He knows more about the emergence and formation of the Italian Empire than anyone outside of the Scholarium. He taught a truth that the Duke didn't like about his ancestor and ended up in a cell. He was acquitted at trial, but no one would hire him as a teacher after that. He eventually chose to serve as a legionnaire. Castile explained Konstantin's fate. Which Duke? I asked, thinking it was Octavian, and that was why he supported Castile. Castile was holding back a smile. Duke Soren. Duke Soren had an accident a few years into Konstantin's service while he was with the Hounds. I wanted to ask, but didn't need to, as Castile continued. He passed questioning by the Imperial Truth Seekers. Castile's slight smile told me it did not give her much assurance that Konstantin was not involved somehow. I already knew Konstantin was dangerous, but if he could orchestrate a duke's death, doubly so. Wow. A knock came at the door, and Castile allowed her male servant to enter. Alder cleared the table and served Castile a breakfast of sliced fruit with a small side of boiled oats covered in black syrup. Maybe chocolate? He also had a pot of hot mushroom tea. As Castile ate, she gave me orders. You are to continue gathering herbs outside the city. Konstantin is going to join the men digging the markers. I need him to scout the woods as they move deeper into the forest. Sell what you can in the city. Let me know when the market is saturated. There is some demand, so it should be weeks. So I am on my own. No supervision. I also wanted to say there would be no partner if I was attacked. She nodded, and maybe being with Konstantin was not so bad. He was a formidable warrior, and I felt safe under his care. Maybe Castile was seeing if I would try to run. I was given the opportunity, and it was at the forefront of my thoughts at this moment. Do not travel too far from the city and return before sunset, Castile added, sipping her hot tea with satisfaction. I stood. Do you want me to give the coin I make to Delmar? Castile arched an eyebrow and thought for a moment. She picked up a sheet that clearly had notes on what I earned from my harvest. 30 silver a week. Anything earned beyond that you can keep, Eric. She held up the sheet. Your week started yesterday, and the 16 silver coins count. Ask the sisters where else you can sell the bounty of the woods in the city. How did you know about the sisters? I asked, and Castile smirked. I just shook my head and figured she had been checking in on me with her all-seeing eye. She probably wanted to be sure I was being honest when I turned in the coin. I left Castile's room and headed back to my room. As I passed Konstantin's door, he stepped into the hallway. Eric, I'm only going to be with you for the morning. After, I will be heading to help with the survey markers. I just talked with Castile and she told me. Konstantin looked slightly surprised and amused, realizing what time it was. I decided to sway suspicion. She was occupied with her servant, but spent some time talking with me. He immediately understood. Good. She needed some stress relief. You should do the same. You have to be the tightest, wildest legionnaire in the company. But Castile said, I started to say. Konstantin shook his head, disappointed. You need to listen to orders more carefully. She said not to force or abuse the servants. If they are willing. Wow. He paused before continuing. If you are too bashful or your servant is unwilling, join Firth at the Nasty Nymph. I will be ready after breakfast, and we can review everything I taught in hopes you do not do anything stupid to get yourself killed. It would not please me after all the effort I have gone through in training you. Konstantin walked arrogantly down the hallway, leaving me with a lot to think about. Ah, shit. Maybe I have to read a scene after all. Shit. Okay, we'll see. Chapter 85. The Goliath. Konstantin spent the morning walking with me through the northern woods. The only large predator tracks were from the giant weasels. You should be fine if you stay within the boundaries I outlined for you. He set the boundaries about 4 miles from the northern walls of the citadel. Then he left me to myself. I thought it was a ruse, so I was constantly on high alert, thinking Konstantin might be shadowing me. I started by gathering some of the easy-to-find red mushrooms first. They were in season, and the sisters said they bloomed overnight and needed to be harvested within 2 days. If the gills underneath were black, they had already released their spores, making them useless. The mushrooms served as the base for the simple healing salve used to close wounds. Next, I focused on the bloodgrass. Not only did I need to make sure to get the roots, but I also needed to avoid damaging the leaves, or they would be useless. According to the sisters, they oozed a runny red sap if the leaves were damaged. This sap was stored in the roots and needed to be fresh for the alchemist. Not damaging the roots was tricky, and storing the dirt with the plant was easier. I continued digging, cutting and harvesting well into the afternoon. I was near one of the well-trodden paths when the largest man I had ever seen walked toward me with a deer on his shoulders. I stood up from behind a berry bush, and he paused. Legionnaire? He eventually said in a neutral greeting with a small nod. His voice was deep to go with his massive frame. He stood easily over 7 feet, and his grey skin told me he was likely not human. He slowly scanned the woods around him, looking for others. He did not appear to pose a threat. I cautiously nodded in greetings. My name is Eric, and I'm out here harvesting herbs and mushrooms. His eyebrows arched, and his crystal green eyes quickly observed that I had nothing to carry them in. I reached down behind a bush, and he tensed. I pulled the entire crate from my dimensional space, revealed it, and tilted it toward him to show the contents. He nodded slowly and dropped the deer on the ground with a thud. He wore mostly medium brown leather clothing. He had a stained club at his waist and quiver with 8 impossibly thick arrows. A large unstrung bow was on his back. I mean no harm, Legionnaire, unless you intend to harm me. I'm retrieving my writ to hunt and trade. His deep voice echoed in the woods. I watched him carefully as he went to one of his pouches and retrieved a half sheet of worn parchment. He extended his arm, expecting me to take it. I carefully took the paper and stepped back. I read it with keeping my vision trained on him. The paper said the Goliath, known as Mavieth, was permitted to hunt and trade within the Sorbal City woodlands. It had an official wax stamp that was now cracked and shipping. I noticed the date was 12 years ago. I looked up at the man, who looked larger every second. This is over 12 years ago. In his deep voice he responded. It has no date of termination. I nodded and asked. I thought the Talians did not allow other races to live in the Empire. He cocked his bald head like a dog. Is that so, Legionnaire? Your odd accent tells me you were not raised within the Empire. A forced conscript, I admitted. But my mage company will be working the woodlands for the next 6 months. I felt it prudent to let him know I worked for a mage. I carefully handed the parchment back to him. He cocked his head again. I served the mage count that lived in the citadel for a time. We had an agreement before his passing. He held up the parchment for a moment before returning it to his pouch. All the wardens have the same agreement. There are more of you? I asked a little loudly, looking deep into the woods. The giant, grey-skinned man bellowed a massive laugh. No, Legionnaire. There is only one Mavieth. The other 3 men are humans like yourself. Does the new Duchess know you are out here? I asked the giant man. New Duchess? In Sobel City? I heard rumors from the city folk I trade with, but I cannot confirm she knows of me. After the unpleasantness with the prior baron, I prefer not to make myself known. Though, now it appears I have no other choice. He heaved a heavy sigh. I relaxed slightly. What happened with the baron? His grey-skinned face hardened somewhat. He demanded half of all I hunted and foraged. Also, I was prohibited from selling or trading in the city proper. I heard the baron was a prick. What is a Goliath? I asked the man, indicating his race on his writ. He looked confused. Prick? Like a thorn? Yes, he could be described as a thorn. The man was not stupid, as he puzzled out my slang quickly. His voice got deeper as he continued. Goliaths are from Stone Mountain Islands. We live there and rarely travel. And you will ask, why am I here? Because I have chosen to be here, Legionnaire. His tone told me he did not want me to ask further questions on the topic. I will have to report your presence to my commander and the Duchess, I added, ready to react if he became agitated. I could remove his heart in less than a breath. The giant man cocked his head, considering. Perhaps it is best that I return with you, and you make introductions for me if it must be done. His face soured slightly, and he turned to the deer. I can make this kill as an offering to the Duchess, and see if she will honor my writ as it is written. I looked down at my crate and then at the Goliath. He misunderstood. I can carry your load, Legionnaire. That way I cannot surprise you with an attack. Caution is wise around strangers. There was humor in his deep tone, as if he did not consider me a threat. Fine, you can lead the way, I responded. He balanced the deer on his shoulder and picked up the crate, which was small in his hands. After we walked for a while, I asked, what are the dangers in these woods? The Goliath replied immediately. There are 2 giant weasel dens in the northeast. They mostly hunt at night. An ogre might wander in the region every year or so, and the wardens will band together to remove it. He thought for a moment. 10 years ago, there was an active and aggressive trend. It had since gone into hibernation and is best left undisturbed. Why haven't the wardens taken care of the weasels? I asked. Balance, Legionnaire. The weasels hunt the weak, sickly animals and keep the predators in check by defending their territory. If their population expands to over half a dozen, we may meet and decide to eliminate a pair in the next breeding season, the Goliath patiently explained. The walls at the rear of the citadel came into view. I waved at the only spotter in the rear tower. He must be familiar with the Goliath, as he did not sound an alarm. Do you frequently travel to the city? I usually trade with locals over there, just 1 day a week. He pointed to a tree clearing with an old crumbling stone structure. The area was visible from the citadel's archers' perch in the tower, so they had probably seen the Goliath trade every week. So why was the Duchess not already aware? You don't know if she just... The Goliath said she may not be. We don't know if she is. When we reached the gate, the 2 guards were in clean uniforms and standing at attention. Halt, Legionnaire. The half-giant is not allowed inside the citadel grounds. The man gripped his spear tightly and stepped forward to block the path. I see you are being trained. Mavieth here. I inclined my head to the Goliath. Is a Goliath and not a half-giant. He is here to speak with the Duchess. The guard looked at his companion and seemed unsure. He pulled out his whistle and blew 2 times in a low key. The 2 guards from the inner bailey came out, followed by Adrian. Adrian's face on seeing the Goliath was priceless. Shock, curiosity, and apprehension were playing on it. I spoke as no one else seemed able to for the moment. Adrian, this is Mavieth. He served as a warden in the woods for the mage that used to govern from the citadel. He hoped to renew his wrath with the Duchess. Mavieth said with agitation, My wrath has no expiration, Legionnaire. This is Adrian, one of the leaders of my mage company. I am sure he can handle your request. I smiled at Adrian. Mavieth put down the crate with my harvest. Adrian rolled his eyes. You 2. He pointed at 2 guards with spears. Flank the guest and follow me. He looked at me, a slight twinkle in his eye. On your own for a single day and already bringing home strays, Eric. He looked at my harvest. Take care of that and then find me in the citadel. I will bring Mavieth to Castile and the Duchess to review his writ. I picked up my crate and went to visit the sisters. I only got 3 silver for half a day's work, but it was something. The crate wasn't even half full and lacked the rarer ingredients I found with Konstantin's prior to 3 silver was a fair price. The sisters also told me of the other places in the city that would purchase certain things from the woods. I walked slowly back to the citadel, stopping for a quick meal at a tavern. I got many looks for being in Legion armor, and no one talked to me beyond ordering the food. I returned to the citadel, and finding the group did not take long. They were in the dining hall with Mavieth, seated on a bench since the chair was too small. Castile, Adrian, and Duchess Veronica were in chairs. Is this your scout that brought the Goliath to my citadel? The Duchess asked conversationally. Castile responded. Yes, this is my porter and scout Eric. The Duchess took me in twice before returning her gaze to the others. I wondered if Larine had already told her about me learning a new spell form. The Duchess was considering something, and they waited while she thought. I agree that the terms are fair. I will want the other wardens to swear to me. Mavieth intoned something in a strange language, and the Duchess nodded. She stood and left the table. Castile had a small smirk after the large doors were shut. Mavieth, you and your fellow wardens will be reporting to Konstantin and Eric here. Your writ remains valid, and your coin will be 3 silver a week. The Goliath relaxed, and the bench groaned under his weight. She looked at Lee. Eric, this warden and the others are in the employ of the Duchess now. They will only be reporting what happens in the woods north of the citadel and are not expected to fight her enemies. Go with Mavieth, and he will introduce you to the other wardens. Make sure they understand their obligations. Mavieth stood and said, Come, Legionnaire, I will host you tonight in my cabin. My name is Eric, I replied to the large gray-skinned man. Or do you prefer I call you Goliath? Call me what you will, he said, unconcerned. I still have my daily chores to finish before nightfall, and do not wish to linger in your human city. I was a little worried about being sent away with an unknown monstrosity. I looked at Castile a little pleadingly. What if the Goliath decides he's hungry and eats me in my sleep? Maybe a chuckle at my words. Don't worry, Legionnaire. Human flesh tastes bitter to me. So he has tasted it. Castile ended the humorous argument. Goliaths are known to be an honorable people, Eric. I doubt he has ever even tried the flesh of a human. Maybe it grumbled a deep laugh. Never assume something, Mage. I think he was joking and just saying that to needle me. Adrian finally spoke, hiding his own grin. We will avenge you if you fall, Eric. But he was smiling too at my discomfort. I guess I missed the conversation they had before I arrived, where the trust had been established. My own fault for stopping for a meal. Eric, take Mavius to the storeroom. He's allowed to take what he can carry as part of his bonus. I am assuming he can carry a lot, I said, looking at the massive humanoid. And where is the storeroom? They called a servant to bring us there. I was a little surprised to be sent off with a strange Goliath. I wished I had some time to ask Adrian or Castile why. As we walked to the storeroom, do not worry, Legionnaire. I will keep you from harm in the scary woods. Who is going to protect you from me? I replied offhandedly. He laughed, scaring the servant with his baritone. I like you, Legionnaire. We're going to have fun. Mavius is so cute. Oh, I love him. He said as we descended stone steps. He barely cleared the doorway. The storeroom was full of just foodstuffs. Mavius took a small cask of cooking oil, 2 large bags of flour, 4 racks of salted ribs, and a large bag of dried peppercorns. He seemed satisfied, even though he could carry more. Did you trade the deer for these supplies? I asked as we left. Mostly. That and the promise to help serve as the forerunner for your company placing the markers. I also have to convince the other wardens to help, and that is why you are coming, the large man said as we left the citadel gates. We walked in silence for a time as the Goliath tried to get his awkward burden comfortable. I could have carried it all for him, but presently I thought it wise to continue to let him underestimate me. After an hour, we finally did start talking. Ooh, okay. About? Ooh. Off to with a Goliath. He said the others were humans, though. The other wardens. So we missed one more night with Lorene. Now we're sleeping with a Goliath. Nice. And we will see what they're talking about next time. Very good chapters. Highly enjoyed today's stream. Very much fun. Over already. Oh, already been 2 hours. Isn't that crazy? Eric has his priorities straight. Right. Definitely save y'all. Holy. This stretch. Oh, fuck. Good stream, Marcel. Thank you. So she did surprise me as well. Because it was. I understand her character more, and it was kind of in character though. It was in character, but I still didn't expect it for some reason. I didn't think we would go there, but we went there. Well, stream myself. Fuck you all. We could do a little bit of shiny hunting. I have a. I cannot speak. I feel like it. We will do some shiny hunting. I will restart the stream though for the VODs, for the sake of the VOD. So, and for the YouTube as well. We can do some shiny hunting. It's fun. We're in a new area, so it's still fun. So we will do so. Thank you so much for watching this VOD. Go and follow me on all the places you want to know all that. And we will just restart the stream. So if you... see how long that lasts. Not long. So if you want to continue, just refresh the stream now. Thank you and bye to the VOD watchers.